What is the most effed up thing that happened in Reddit? The woman in legal advice who was being investigated by Child Protective Services while pregnant with her first child, which is not something CPS does. Here it was not a real caseworker and just a woman trying to steal her baby. That parasite man who loved being covered in parasites, breeding parasites, and worst of all, infecting others unknowingly. Worst of all, he referred to them as his children. I hope that was fake. The man who posted about his wife cheating on him. The wife was real nasty about it when he confronted her and even made him apologize for outing her lover to his wife. The man posts on Reddit, "What should I do? This is still bothering me." Reddit, of course, leave that B-word ASAP. So he files for divorce. The day he tells her, the crazy wife then offs their 2 small children while he is asleep in the basement. He updated Reddit a few days later with what happened. It was national news. The only reason I know about it is because I watched a YouTube vid on it a few weeks ago. There was a post about a woman who wanted to know how to protect herself in the event she was R-worded and taken into the woods, or something like that. She wanted to know what evidence could be left behind, or something along those lines. Turned out when people reviewed the OP's history, it was a man, and very clearly it was someone trying to plan a crime. I'm not sure if I'm remembering it correctly, but it was super effed up. I hope that person hasn't harmed anyone since the years have passed. A couple years back there was an Ask Reddit thread asking about people who accidentally offed someone. What happened? Someone posted on it stating that as children, they used to play at this place in the outskirts of town with a huge river and cliffs. There was this special needs kid that him and a group of other kids pushed off a tall hill on a super rainy day. They freaked out, ditched him, and went home, swearing to keep the whole thing a secret from their parents. Apparently the kid went missing, probably died where he fell and his body was scavenged by animals, or he fell into the river while injured because he noticed that the kid was missing and it was on the news. Someone replied to the post and posted an unresolved missing child case from decades ago, and it matched the story. He even looked into the poster's Reddit history and noticed that he mentioned moving back to his childhood town, which was the town the missing kid was from. He also posted geographical data of where a river and cliffs would be located within walking distance of a school. The posts were all deleted apparently. One that sticks with me was a guy confessing he was having a surgery with a poor chance of survival and hadn't told his family. The comments obviously flooded support, and OP promised to update everyone after surgery but never did. I checked back again and again for a year just in case, but I don't think they made it. There was one on relationship advice where a guy was asking how to deal with his paranoid wife after she made friends with a fellow mom who suggested his working long hours was him cheating. He wrote a few posts where he detailed this friend being an issue, then how to deal with his wife when she got physically abusive. Eventually, he took the kids, put her in some sort of psychiatric facility, and she got out and killed herself. Final post was him saying how the friend that kicked it all off wanted to say words at her funeral and he didn't want her there at all. The woman who walked in her house in the middle of the day only to hear moaning and adult sounds. When she walked to see what was going on, she found her daughter and husband doing it. The worst part was the daughter was begging her not to do anything because she loved her dad. Her dad had groomed her from a young age, so she had no clue how wrong it all was. The one, besides the ones already mentioned, that stuck with me was a story a few years back that was happening on 4chan and being posted in real time to Reddit. I didn't see it on 4chan, but followed this on Reddit as it was happening. A guy went to his girlfriend's house, had rough sex with her, beat her brutally, and then strangled her to death, wrote stuff all over her body, and left her in a particularly grotesque and revealing position specifically so that her autistic son, 13 if I recall, would find her like that. Evidently, he smashed her face in and killed the cat as well. He was describing what he did to her, posting pictures of her as she was dying dead. Of all the things he said, it was "she fought so damn hard that did me in." That and being haunted by that poor kid finding his mother like that. That POS filed an appeal in 2020 trying to shorten his sentence on technicalities, but thankfully it was struck down. Don't block the shoulder. Guy and his friend work over the summer, clearing trees with professional arborists. Friend cuts himself open with his chainsaw, blood everywhere. They throw him in a car and try to rush him to the hospital. More blood everywhere. They hit traffic on the freeway, so they use the shoulder. A couple of self-appointed highway vigilantes see them coming and block the shoulder. They scream and yell at them to move. They don't move. They scream and yell some more. They don't move. Friend's pulse is fading fast. This goes on for 10 minutes until they finally get around them at an exit ramp. A cop shows up and escorts them to a waiting ambulance a couple of miles down the highway. The EMTs load Friend in and take off, but it's too late. He dies less than a mile from the hospital. One of the vigilante shoulder blockers shows up a few minutes later and stops to complain at the cop about the shitty drivers, then notices the thoroughly blood-soaked men at the side of the road. Cop shows her the car that looks worse than when Marvin got shot in the face in Pulp Fiction, then cites her for a bunch of stuff. The second vigilante gets stopped and ticketed by another cop. Don't block the shoulder, people. You don't know why someone is driving on it illegally. They may be a-holes, sure. They probably are a-holes. But it's possible that they have a really good reason for doing that. This is definitely not as bad as some of these posts, but it stuck with me pretty bad because I'm passionate about taking good care of our pets. I'm pretty active in our /chameleons, and this girl a while back posted photos of her animal asking for advice. She talked about how her chameleon hadn't had a bowel movement in months. In the photos you can clearly see this poor baby was so severely impacted and bloated that their solidified GI tract had stabbed through their flesh like a little pinky finger poking through their rib cage. I was shocked and scrolled to the next photo thinking it was another angle or something. Turns out it was a photo that was more recent. It was worse. So much worse. The wound was now the size of a nickel, and you could clearly see this poor baby's internal organs. Its intestines were hanging out and dangling outside of it. It was effed. I couldn't believe that poor thing was still alive and kicking. I still have no clue how that's possible. I took screenshots of it and considered reporting them for animal abuse, but they deleted their post and account before I could get more info on them to make the report. It was awful. There was an Ask thread looking to hear from people that had legally killed someone. A guy posted saying that he was gaming with his noise-canceling headphones and an intruder had entered his home and was R-wording his wife. He didn't hear anything until he removed his headphones, walked into the bedroom, and killed the guy. Every time I put on gaming headphones, I think about that couple and wonder how they're doing. So a few years ago, I was waiting for my bus. Was on the way to a party and already was dressed up and everything. I was bored and went through AMA and saw a post that said something like, "I am committing not living AMA." From the comments, I understood that the person was trying to OD and already took pills. Every comment underneath were all saying what a horrible thing that is and that they should think about their family and everything. I felt sorry and wrote some nice words and offered to accompany them for a bit. It just didn't feel okay to have the last interaction of a human to have strangers insulting them for taking their own life. I didn't expect him to actually write me, but a moment later I had a chat request. He wrote me because I was the only one who replied with some nice words. I started to ask about his situation and tried to talk about nice things to give him good thoughts. We laughed together and had a nice convo. I always asked in between if there is something he needed or if I should contact someone or send an ambulance to his place once he didn't reply for a certain amount of time. This was so surreal. He explained that he already planned everything through. Well, after some time he realized that he probably didn't take enough since he should already be dead by that time. I asked if he was going to do it again and he said nah and that he already felt more optimistic about his life. I did a few checkups afterwards. His life turned to a better and he found a job and didn't felt not living anymore. We don't have contact anymore, but I am glad that I was the friend he needed at that moment, but I would lie if I wouldn't say that effed me up for a while. Maybe that isn't as effed up as some other stories, but I feel since it actually affected my life that effed me up more than some other Reddit horror stories. I'm trying to find it but can't. It was a guy who kept posting the same thing, a few specific words, I can't remember, over and over. He then started responding to himself with other accounts. Most of what he was saying was gibberish, and it just got really weird. People said it seemed like this guy was just slowly going mad, and we were basically watching it happen through Reddit. There was a whole YouTube video on it. This was maybe 4 to 5 years ago. This gal was posting almost daily on the WTF sub showing her stomach. She was very athletic, but her stomach was bulging because she had been constipated for well over a month and had not had one bowel movement during that time. IRC, it ended up going to 3 months, and then the post stopped and the account disappeared. No follow-up on what happened. I like to think it finally went away and she had a nice 3-hour poop. The one where the OP left her twin daughters with her mother to watch over them during midterms. She was a teacher. One of the 2 twins was allergic to coconuts, but the grandmother didn't believe OP/ignored all of OP's warnings regarding the child's coconut allergy and put coconut oil in both children's hair to braid it before putting them to sleep. She gave the allergic child Benadryl and didn't wash out the coconut oil in an attempt to prove a point, the point being that the child wasn't actually allergic to coconut and was just being difficult. The child wound up having an allergic reaction to the coconut, vomited in her sleep, and asphyxiated on the vomit. The Benadryl had knocked her out too hard for her to have been able to wake up when she threw up on herself. This one about the guy who had an accident of some sort, lived 10 years of his life, got married, had kids, etc., and one day he sees his lamp glitch, and long story short, he comes back to the day of the accident. He had lived those 10 years in a coma. He's mourned his wife and kids ever since. It's so sad. I don't know about most, but there was this one series of posts I was following with a friend. We saw a post during COVID quarantine times about someone trying to set up a private gym in his garage or something. It was interesting to us because my friend had his own little private gym. We checked his post history, and he had been asking around for advice on how to do it, if he needed a license, insurance, how much to charge people, and other various questions. Basically, the comments were all saying how it's a bad idea and he shouldn't do it for liability reasons and whatnot, as I don't think the guy wanted to pay for health insurance or something like that. A few months later, there was a new post from the guy about how someone had died using their private gym and what they should do now. I probably misremembered bits as this happened a couple years ago now, but I do remember all the comments on the last post calling him out pretty hard. One that sticks with me was a woman who got violently R-worded and posted a photo of her beat-up face for support. People dug through her post history and found that she'd at one point posted a pic of her at Halloween with her face in makeup that included makeup bruising. The crowd then decided that she was faking the whole thing for attention and started to harass her nonstop until she posted again with a video of her crying and trying to scrub the real wounds off her face. The confession where a now older man let his wife beat their teenage son, who was a psychotic, dangerous piece of crap human. The boy laid in his own blood and piss for a day or so till he woke up from the can of whoop ass his mother gave him, and the rest of the family moved downstairs. He trashed the house and eventually left. He is truly afraid for the people the boy must have encountered throughout his life. The whole story, if true, which I suspect is, has stuck with me. I wish I could link it, but I don't know how. This one Redditor was contacted for the first time by her son that she gave up at birth. He really wanted to meet her, and all she could think about was how he ruined her life and her body for giving birth to him. All she wanted to do was sue him for her troubles. Redditors encouraged her to not meet him and to get therapy instead, because meeting him would hurt them both. I remember a story some girl told about how she and her boyfriend got drunk and did it and then fell asleep only for the both of them to wake up the next morning in an actual pool of her poop for some reason. The boyfriend screamed, showered, and literally ran away and hadn't spoken to her in days at the time of the post. She said she tried to hose it off, but she couldn't get it clean, but she didn't have another mattress, so she slept on it anyway. It was probably the worst story I've ever read. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. Also check out our other videos and have an amazing day.